Hello again, everybody. I have had weeks of difficulty making this video, but hopefully the fourth time's the charm. So, a couple different things I want to take care of today for various questlines that haven't been advanced in a while. Number one, in this region, there is a Dwarven Convector for Arngeiring's little quest. I'm going to take off my Morokai mask because there's people around, of course. So, Arngeiring's quest requires you now to go to a random number between 1 and 3 of the 6 Dwemer Convectors that are scattered around Skyrim in different locations. Many of them are quite out of the way and often heavily guarded or just in the middle of Dwarven ruins and things like that. So this one out here, which is relatively accessible and has like 2 bandits around it, is quite a good one to stop by first. If I'm lucky, I won't need anywhere else at all, but we'll see about that. I also want to advance the Dark Brotherhood questline and of course the main one. Maybe a few other odds and ends too. So I'm coming up in the Imperial camp now where I fought the dragon near the very beginning of the game. And there should be a couple of bandits at the little ruin nearby here. A lot of Imperials. I'm going to find their quartermaster. I'm going to hear him hammering somewhere and just check to see if he has any boots to sell me. There we go.
What do you need?
Disappointing.
How'd you end up here? My father was a legionnaire.
Alright, so I think there's 3 bandits at this little ruin. Quite easy to take out as long as I get the drop on them. Which I should. Are they going to walk up from behind their cover? One is. I can't tell exactly where he'll be, so I feel like a frenzy spell with its area of effect is a safer bet here. Hopefully make them start fighting each other. Doesn't look like it did though. So, will that work? That's a bit better. Okay. Ooh, the Imperials are getting in on this. So I'll summon an Atronach and I'll go take out the bandit archer back there. Looks like he's a stand. Oh, I forgot to turn off my frost spells and put on my useful ones instead. After that fight with Alduin. Well, the Imperials getting into this means that I can't do any blood drinking. Unless they didn't show up. Yeah, it seems like they actually just gave up. So, do I have my vampires? No, it hasn't been long enough yet. Okay, well, I thought I needed to drink blood, but apparently not yet. So, Dwemer Convector hidden over here. And you just put in the Warp Soul Gem. And use the otherwise useless Arniel's Convection spell, and then just cross your fingers and hope you don't have to do it again. Okay, one more, it says. That's not too bad. So, now to advance the main questline. I need to go talk to Jarl Balgruuf. And I've gone this route many times before, and it's pretty much perfectly safe from here, so lots of traveling around to do this episode through very safe roads that I'll just be skipping over because I've done them 3 or 4 times already. Want to push things along and not spend hours walking on empty roads that we've seen in 3 or 4 videos. So, a lot of people really complain about this quest and say it's one of the worst ones in the game. And they have a point, but I think on another level it's also one of the best quests in the game. It's just a great idea, very poorly implemented. This conversation in particular, should have way more options and way more branches, and it should really affect the outcome more. That's one thing this game is missing, is like actual meaningful consequences to the dialogue paths.
Of course. You already saved Whiterun from that dragon. I owe you a great deal. But I don't understand. Why let a dragon into the heart of my city when we've been working so hard to keep them out?
What in the world have you actually done to keep them out? So he's appropriately awed by this response.
Himself. But how can we fight him? Doesn't his return mean it's the end times?
It seems like the most persuasive option.
I don't know about such things, but I heard the Greybeard summon you. That's good enough for me. Now what's this nonsense about trapping a dragon in my palace?
It's really not the only way at all. This is like a silly contrivance
I
because
want to help you,
we could just
Dragonborn,
beat the answer out of like
and I
any
will.
dragon.
But I need your help first. Ulfric and General Tullius are both just waiting for me to make a wrong move. Do you think they will sit idle while the dragon is slaughtering my men and burning my city?
I mean, that could happen at any time to any of the
I
three of
can't
you
risk
anyway,
weakening
so
the city while
whatever.
we are under the threat of enemy attack. I'm sorry. Then I would be glad to help you with your mad dragon trapping scheme.
I would like this
Getting
better if
both
like there was an
sides
idea
agree
that
for
Balgruuf is
truce.
manipulating you into making peace here for his own motives, but
The
it
bitterness
just
has
seems like
gone
he's
too
reacting, not really
deep. Maybe.
using you.
What of the Greybeards? They are respected by all Nords. High Hrothgar is neutral territory. If the Greybeards were willing to host a peace council,
And it makes a certain kind of sense. The Greybeards really do have this kind of authority, and
Tullius would have to listen.
I like that idea. I like the idea of this peace conference. I just wish you could actually make peace, though. That would be pretty cool.
And this war
With maybe like a carefully chosen strategic outcome through a complicated conversation tree or something like that. Something to make it challenging. It's a good chance to follow up on this lore here.
Although
I mean,
never thought to put
the-
the tail to the
Half of the
test.
proof, at least, is right up there.
Jarl Olaf One-Eye it was, who later became High King. They say he shouted it into
And there's
submission
numerous
in
contradictory
single
stories
combat
about
at
Olaf,
Tottenham and Thor.
who I don't think was mentioned before this game. But I do like, the contradictory lore about him. That's a very Elder Scrolls series kind of thing.
That's
Even in this game, where we get like
decorating
chance
the
to
main
directly
hall.
investigate, we get contradictory information ourselves, as you'll see.
Now, if you don't mind,
This is ridiculous. His like absurd, gruff, generic response is not an appropriate end to that conversation. A lot of the times, the generic NPC dialogue gets in the way of interesting moments in the story. And that's like a very simple kind of fix that they could have, not put into the game. Even just having like a categorization of like nice and like not so nice dialogue ending lines and just like picked from the appropriate list for the appropriate time would have solved that problem. Okay, so I need to get back to High Hrothgar immediately. So it's basically like a pointless trip back and forth to just advance the quest. So go talk to Arngeiring there. So what I like about this quest here is that it interlocks with the Civil War questline, and you can choose the course of the Civil War partially based on this. Or if the Civil War is already done, then you can skip this entirely. Well, not already done, but if you've already have got Whiterun on one side or the other, then you can skip the quest entirely. But at this conference, as we'll see, whole territories can change hands and choose what battles you end up having to fight later on. You can make the treaty completely lopsided, so you have to fight very few battles or very many battles, or you can really change things up a fair amount. Interesting in concept, just a little bit dull in execution because there's no substance to the dialogue trees in this game. There's no real choices, no real strategy, no real challenge.
I feared as much.
So,
I thought it was him
I mean,
we saw
it kind of
flying
makes sense that I would know he's going to Sovngarde, but it's not really conclusive yet. I feel like I should have had to ask a later question in this conversation before knowing that.
We are not warriors. What is overlooked in the Dragonborn is not permitted to any other followers of the Way of the Voice.
Mind you, Jurgen Windcaller established this stupid religion by, beating down all opposition. But whatever.
You misunderstand our authority. The Greybeards have never involved themselves in political affairs.
Blatant lies. Going back to the dawn of Elder Scrolls lore, the Greybeards have been involving themselves in earthly affairs constantly. They do things like name high kings and emperors and summon the very gods back to Earth to help the Nords win battles against other races.
I see.
I'm not sure if the writers just forgot or if Arngeiring is lying to you, but
without the Jarl's help.
Probably the writers
Parliament
just
has
forgot.
made the decision to help you. This is the road we have to walk. Even the Greybeards must bend to the winds of change, it seems.
So Arngeiring very reluctantly agrees to do something useful like put an end to the war that he thinks is terrible. He's really determined to be as close to useless as is possible while still obeying Parthenax.
Deliver the message to the warring parties. If they will listen, I will do what I can to bring them to terms.
I feel like this conversation question should have been
Travel
earlier.
into Sovngarde to devour the souls of the dead.
I'm not really sure why it's only Sovngarde. I can't think of a good lore reason that is, just gameplay-wise they want you to have the Nord afterlife in the Nord game. I also feel like over the course of the 5,000 years since Alduin was defeated the first time. The gods should probably have, like, sent some guy to close off his stupid portal before he inevitably comes back, as they knew he would. That way he doesn't get to, do this nonsense and eat the souls of the dead who they should be caring for, because that's what they're all about. Whatever. Hjalti's been awake for a long time, so he's going to have a meal. And get some sleep. My next stop is going to be Markarth. I'm on the way to Solitude to go start off the peace conference negotiations and also advance the vampire questline, but I need to stop at Markarth to... Are they gonna... Trap their facing different ways, so Hjalti doesn't really feel comfortable coming up and drinking one of their blood. The other one might spot him potentially if they're not quite asleep. So I need to advance the Dark Brotherhood questline in Markarth before I advance towards Solitude. A few other things I can take care of along the way, too. Actually, quite a few interesting side quests of various sorts. So, I've traveled the road from Whiterun to Rorikstead many, many, many times, and it's basically perfectly clear. I think from Rorikstead to Markarth is also mostly clear, but I haven't gone that road many times, so I won't be skipping it this time. But if it proves to be as clear as I think it is, then I'll skip it in the future. What an unpleasant day to be traveling. It's rainy, it's also sunny for vampires. Hjalti is not enthusiastic. This is not the main road, by the way, but it's the road toward a destination I want to stop off at along the way. There's also a Forsworn fortress out here, a little bit out of place it feels like, because this is not really the Reach. I guess it's kind of like the boundary of the Reach, but it really feels like they're overstepping their bounds and leaving their supposed ancestral territory, which the Nords quite possibly had first, as I've said. Contradictions about who the first humans really were throughout all of these games. But it's quite possible that it's the Nords, basically. Or at least that the Nords were the first of the new wave of humans that actually colonized every part of the continent after the elves annihilated or enslaved all the previous races of humans. Unclear. So, Hjalti remembers seeing an inn somewhere in this region, and he's probably going to stop there because he's tired of being in the rain and the daylight, and is thirsty for blood and hasn't had a convenient victim. But an inn might well have one. Or a traveler on the roads nearby, or something he can use. There it is. Well, let me put on my Morokai mask and Amulet of Talos and equip my Ethereal Shout.
Fight!
Ah, a bear over there. Is it a cave bear? I think it is from its coloration. Yeah, it looks like a cave bear to me. Oh, drat. The Atronach has lured it down the slope. That's bad. I think I'm going to need to back up here and wait for it to come to me then. My best bet is just to blast it down the entire slope, which should be deadly. I'm surprised the Atronach has held up so long. I mean, cave bears hit pretty hard. So I guess I'll take some pot shots just in case it... Ah, there it goes. Okay. Oop. I got scared for a second there because it didn't actually do the shout sound until it was already executed. But that worked out okay. So, the inn. You guys are about to find out exactly how far in advance I plan things. So, Old Froldan is an ancient town in Elder Scrolls lore. So mentioned in some of the earliest books in this series as being a town that dates back many eras, and is established in like the ancientest texts in Skyrim as having been a very, very old town. But somehow or other it's down to just this one inn now with no real explanation of that. I feel like we're missing some interesting lore there that they just forgot about or didn't develop. But a neat little inn with some unique features. A lot of the NPCs here are fairly memorable. This fellow who's usually out here is not. He's a complete
Fire,
nobody.
Don't burn anything down now.
That's better. But the innkeepers are pretty memorable.
Ah, a visitor. Old Hrolden Inn has hundreds of years of history.
The town is mentioned as thousands. That might be an oversight, or it might be just technically true that only the inn has been here that long. Although she'll contradict that herself, sort of. Oh, I guess these are farmers who fled from a dragon. You always see them walking on the roads, but maybe they're walking toward inns. Never seen them in one before.
Was destroyed. No, I was too afraid to look. You're too kind. Thank you. Be careful and stay safe.
I had our cheese wheels around here. I wish I could claim them, but they're being watched. So here's Adis, the
You'll be
innkeeper.
looking to rent Tiber Septim's room, I take it?
Where did Papa go? Last time you said he was fighting for the...
Oh, it skipped her side of the dialogues. It's a fun little dialogue thing. Talk about
That's
it later.
right. In the Second Era, Tiber Septim himself led the
Like the
army
end of
that
the Second
conquered
Era.
Old
Him
Hrolden
establishing
and
the
the
Empire is the
barbarians of
beginning of the Third Era.
Septim would later found the empire that united
This is
Tamriel,
old
but
lore.
his
It's been
first
in
known battle
series
and victory
pretty much
was
forever.
right here. And this inn has the very bed the great general slept in on his first night as old
That would be like
Hrolden's
about
ruling,
1,000 years
as
ago,
good as
but I
it
guess
was
it's still technically
hundreds of
hundreds,
years
so
ago.
kind of works. I think it's a little bit less than 1,000, a little bit less. The whole Third Era, all the Fourth Era so far, and a little bit of the Second, yeah, it's like 700 years, roughly. Well, Hjalti doesn't believe this for a moment, but he's kind of tickled by all the connection between himself and Tiber Septim anyway.
Have a good rest. It's the big room with the double bed. I'll show you to your room. Right this way.
My hometown, actually, in the exotic far eastern land of New Jersey, has an inn with no real claim to fame whatsoever, but they like to pretend that George Washington slept there at some
Let me
point
know
during
if
the
there's anything
Revolution.
else you need.
This is the old Hrolden Inn. Clean beds and strong drink. Depends. Are you thirsty, hungry, both?
So this kid, of course, acts like an adult in his specialized dialogue, which is interesting. He's kind of like a unique, memorable character, and also, of course, it has a little bit of poignancy to it, because you know that his father has gone missing and his mom is lying that he's off in the war, but he probably just hardly knew the guy, and he's probably run off on the family or something like that, and so he's had to step up and fill his father's shoes.
Watch your tongue, stranger. We don't take back talk in this inn.
But unfortunately, Skyrim kind of ruins that with the same kind of NPC sloppiness of having generic initiating and ending conversation dialogue.
Alright then.
He'll often just say generic kid stuff. I'm surprised he hasn't
If you
so
drink
far.
too much, you're out.
Okay, well, I'm glad he didn't, but take my word for it, he often says stupid things and ruins it. So, time for another meal, I guess. Always have to have something sweet. And now, an interesting little moment coming up. Hjalti's just going to sleep till sundown so he can travel by night as he prefers. I think these farmers are going to ruin things. Not that Scully made things good. So she screamed, the innkeeper screamed, because there's suddenly a ghost walking around. Now, that would be neat and a good hook for this quest, but having these guys just kind of standing there staring into space is clearly not something that the designers anticipated, so it ruins that part of things. But worse yet is that no matter what, Scully was just going to stand there indifferently no matter what. So they really did a sloppy job there. Scully should have reacted or acknowledged the situation. It'd be okay if he was like comically calm, but he just doesn't acknowledge the situation. That's
Lord
bad
have mercy,
writing.
that gave me a fright. There's a ghost just wandering around my inn like
Oh,
it
we're
owned the
skipping
place.
her dialogue again.
Yes, I've heard stories that old Hrolden was haunted, but no one's seen a ghost here since the Great War.
It's really not that long ago. It's
From
probably
the
in her
battle,
lifetime.
I just know it. He's one of Tiber Septim's soldiers, back from the dead. See ya.
Alright, so let me go talk to this ghost.
Do you remember me now, Hjalti? Hjalti? Is that you? I've been waiting.
But Hjalti immediately understands. His parents, of course, named him for what Tiber Septim is known as in his home, province of High Rock. There he's known as Hjalti Earlybeard, from the Isle of Alcair.
You promised me, Hjalti.
But I'm trying to get information
You
that he
promised
has.
that when we sacked Folden, you would make me your sworn brother.
I'm not sure if saying that they sacked Frolden is a misstep by the writers, or if that battle went differently than we're told in history.
Into my chest and their hammers crushed my bones. I've waited. Give me your sword, Hjalti, that we may become brothers, as you promised.
Hjalti's immediately intrigued by the idea of claiming Tiber Septim's sword, which he's now fairly convinced he has a decent claim to, given all the evidence suggesting his connections to Tiber Septim.
I long to taste battle again.
Well, that's largely irrelevant, because as far as I can recollect, you don't help me get it.
You don't remember me, Hjalti?
So this confirms that this is not his first battle, or the writers messed up.
You saved my
But it might have been the first battle he led, or something like that, having just been a foot soldier in previous ones or something. I guess Tiber Septim screwed up in that most recent battle. Didn't save him this time.
Don't like those eyes you got. There's a bad hunger to them. A sword. I remember a legend that Tiber Septim had attacked one of the enemy camps before he came to Old World.
I don't remember this legend being in the previous books. I think they just made it for this game, but that's fine and good. It's a minor detail. It's an interesting little quest hook. It becomes a generic fetch quest from here, but
Thank you for the gold.
a neat concept at the very least. Anyway, it's a radiant quest, I think, so it's a random location around the Reach, so I just need to cross my fingers it's a nice place instead of somewhere that's really out of the way. After I, of course, turn it on in my journal. Alright, where are we talking about here? That's not bad as I recall. I think Drudak Redoubt is a forsworn encampment with like a special story twist to it, depending on your choices in another section. But it's not too remote, and as you can see, there are dwarven convectors there anyway. I was planning on stopping out the way, so really it worked out pretty neatly. I'll take it. But Hjalti's not going to prioritize it above all else right now. He has several important things to take care of, some of which relate to saving the world. So, finding Tiber Septim's sword can wait, although he does have a strong interest in it. I think this is the way back toward the main road. Horrible creatures. I think that's just like a hunter over there. I think there's just like a couple of hunters standing by that shrine usually. So I'll pass them by. And let's see if I meet anything on this road. It is a very beautiful region of Skyrim. One of my favorites. I just love traveling around the Reach. It's not like a bleak polar landscape, which would get boring after a while, but it's got these beautiful misty mountains and waterfalls and rivers everywhere and all kinds of cool plant life. And I kind of enjoy fighting the Forsworn and so forth, and I enjoy the politics of this place. It's one of the best areas in Skyrim, I would say. It's a shame that it's so far... Are those Thalmor? I think they are. It's a shame that it's so far off the beaten path most of the time. Well, can I dual cast this? I'm not actually sure. I can equip my Morokai Mask and my Necromancer's Amulet. No, I can't dual cast it. Well, single cast might do. We'll see. Yep, that'll do. So now I'll conjure myself a Flame Atronach on top of them. And they're all stacked up, so it seems like a good chance to do... Fireballs. I think if I kill them all, that bounty will go away. I think. Fun, although not always the most effective way to fight. Is this guy still standing? Weird. I thought he'd run with HP. Okay. Yep, so it all worked out. Let's Witness killed. And it could have been anything that did this at this point. There's no people who have seen me in the region other than those innkeepers who would have no reason to help the Thalmor. So... yeah, I think we're good. Why did I loot that rope? No. I'm just a compulsive looter. I don't think I'll destroy the bodies this time. That's kind of become Hjalti's known modus operandi, I would think, and he's liking the recent lull in Thalmor activity. So, no need to antagonize them further beyond just killing the ones who are convenient for him to kill. But no creatures on this road from what we've seen. I think I'm basically at Markarth. There's always lots of animals in the water, but they're just like mud crabs and whatever, and they aren't actually in your way. So... Sure are a lot of mud crabs, though. Nice. I don't mind leveling up my alteration a little bit now. My other skills have caught up a fair amount. And I do want to get to 65 at some point so I can learn the expert level spells. And eventually to 70% so I can get that last sweet, sweet perk in magic resistance, but that's a little further down the line. It might well happen eventually in this Let's Play. It'll be the highest I've ever got a magic skill, I think, if it does. In all my years of playing this game. The skills just raise so slowly unless you go way out of your way to grind them with like specific methods, and even then it's still super slow. Alteration is one of the easier ones to raise. All you need to really do is just do detect life like this in a really crowded area. I do love like the rift area of Markarth. Not like capital R rift, but just this rift back into the mountains. So beautiful and cool and memorable. The whole city is. Am I under attack? Is that like a guard? I thought I had no bounty anymore. That's weird. Yeah. Can I talk to you? Can I yield?
You have committed crimes against Skyrim and her people. What say you in your defense?
I guess I don't know how I have a bounty, but I guess I'll pay it off.
Smart man. Now come along with us. We'll take any stolen goods and you'll be free to go.
I have no idea how that happened when my bounty was removed, but whatever. Well, I think I saw Khajiit out there outside the city, so I should probably hit them up at some point, but whatever. Lots of things to take care of here in Markarth. Having just alerted the guard, though, I want to lie low for a little bit, perhaps. Maybe be seen leaving the city. So I'll go talk to those Khajiit, so there'll be confusion about whether I'm in the city at all or not when I go about and do some investigation. Kelt has been trying to do that piecemeal without it being obvious that he's truly investigating. So every time he has a legitimate reason to stop by, he just does a little bit more snooping around. I really wonder when and how I acquired that bounty. It might have been a long time ago. Yeah, I think there are Khajiit down there. Well, I can get some moon sugar, although it's Eider cheeseless I've been short on lately. I should have just killed everybody in that inn to claim them, but I think they're all quest characters, so it wouldn't work.
Fire is not. Take a look.
Let's see, have you got any enchanted boots for me? No. Okay. I'll have a lot of that, at least. Maybe I can unload a few things that I'm carrying. Let's see. What have I got that I don't need? I don't need that. Or that. I feel like this is classier. These don't really weigh me down much, but they're clogging up my inventory a little bit, so I might as well get rid of them. That's useful, semi-useful. I should be able to get an upgraded version of that at some point. Just haven't found one yet. Sell those. Scrolls are hard to sell. They don't weigh anything, but I just don't like having them here. Yeah, whatever.
I hope that you will come to do business with us again.
Just get more drugs. I do have a good supply of Elves for fun, too. I don't need to be obsessing over Eider cheese wheels anymore, but stuff is hard to come by, and it's good to build up the supply of it in case you really need a whole bunch at once. Alright, so to add to the confusion, Hjalti may sneak by them with a potion of invisibility on. So there's even less people who know that he's actually back in the city, and he can get away with his various shady business with fewer people knowing what he's up to for the time being. Just skulking in the shadows, could be anybody. Wow, everybody's leaving the inn, huh? Guard coming this way, though. Okay. Guard coming that way. Drat. So he's been seen. But he just stopped me at the inn, after all. Just a hurried traveler out stopping at the inn. Nothing suspicious about it.
Silverblood Inn has plenty of strong drink and clean.
Oh, I need to talk to her, but this is not a great...
What news?
Are you really that
Is Elaine?
stupid? You would just... talk to me about this murder in the doorway?
Is
Whatever.
Elaine? That bastard got exactly
I guess it's not
what he
actually admitting to
deserved.
murder.
But last I heard, Nilsine is still alive. So I guess you decided not to
And
kill
you
her as
just...
well.
okay.
I
You...
have to admit,
what an
I'm
amateur.
disappointed. Here's the payment.
Yeah, I'm not
for
going to
killing
murder this
Elaine.
innocent woman who did
And
nothing wrong
for
for you.
letting Nilsine live. Just remember, that was your decision.
Yeah, just remember, you asked me to murder somebody innocent for no reason, and nobody will miss you if I happen to come back and give you a few fireballs someday. Well, Dark Brotherhood questline advanced, but while I'm in the city, well, there are all the guards. I guess I have things I can take care of. Yes, everything's perfectly alright. I think, though, I'd better save that for another time. I don't want to push my luck with this recording when I had so much trouble getting it, you know, to this point without some kind of software failure. So, for now, I shall call that a night. Continue with this fairly interesting questline next time. Have a great day, everyone.